Heroes of Bretonia right again. That was the news that greeted us this afternoon from Warhammer Day. And as you know, if you are a listener to the show, that is, the Forces of Fantasy podcast is about all things Warhammer Fantasy and then some. Since the old world will definitely fall into either of those two categories, I would like to discuss the new releases that we have seen today, the previews that we have seen today, on this YouTube video. Now, this is for me the first time doing a video like this, so I hope I can get all the technical whatchamaguts and thingamajigs to work. So let's see how it goes. We've gotten a review this afternoon, which was part of a Twitch stream. And if you go to the Warhammer community website or the Warhammer Fantasy Twitch, you can there see where you can review this. But we've also gotten all of these reviews in a web article. And that's the one that I would like to discuss here today. So let's do that. The Warhammer Day preview, The Kingdom of Bretonia Revealed. Warhammer the Old World is a game of mass combat set in the world of legend. That is a name that we have not yet heard for the Warhammer world. If you've listened to the recent Forces of Fantasy episode, you'll know that the Warhammer world in earlier days was called the Known World. Then in later days it sort of became the Old World or simply the Warhammer world. I don't know if it was called something else in the lore, maybe just the world in general. But now it's called the World of Legend. We have a bit of information on the game here. Whole regiments do battle in a swirling melee of ranking, flanking, thundering charges, roaring monsters and powerful sorcery. Now, they're talking about what they have revealed so far, a bit about the development diary and everything, art, lore and weapon concepts, and I'm going to talk about those weapon concepts in a little bit. And then we get a small preview video. I'm not going to play it here, it's just a minute long. You can find it on YouTube and here on the website, of course, as well. I'll put the link in the show notes. So, in this preview, we see all of the images we get here. There is a new plastic kit that you can make in multiple ways. One of them makes this Duke on a Pegasus. He is a Duke, they said in the Twitch stream, because of his helmet. He's got a big helmet, so he is important. So you can make this into a warrior with a lance. There's also a way to make him into a warrior with a sword and shield. And there's even a way to make him into a battle standard bearer. So the Pegasus, of course, has already been leaked. This is the same Pegasus that we saw earlier, at least on Reddit. I believe it was leaked as early as August, and then later again about a week ago, I think, maybe a week and a half ago. So that Pegasus is not as new, but the rider on top definitely is. And yeah, this kit certainly has potential if you ask me. So they say in the Twitch stream that it is a good idea to put a battle standard bearer on a Pegasus, and thereby they revealed a tiny little bit of the rules for battle standard bearers. They say that the battle standard is the rallying point of the army and it also gives combat bonuses. That is of course what the battle standard bearer has been doing throughout the editions, at least from 4th edition onward. In 4th and later editions, the BSB gave you a reroll on break tests, and in 8th edition it even became a reroll on psychology tests and break tests. And it also gave you a combat bonus, because having an extra banner in there gives you +1 combat result. This kit definitely has some potential. And even though I already have the old metal Bretonia light hero on a Pegasus, this kit is definitely worth getting, even if it is just for the battle standard bearer option and maybe for some other options. I don't know yet. It will all depend on the price, on how many of these kits would be feasible to get. But yeah, certainly one that I will keep my eye on. Next we get a unit that was expected as well, Knights of the Realm on foot. And way back in, I don't remember when it was, but I believe early this year, we got this Old World Development Diary reveal with these weapons for the knights, these weapon arms. And when I was going over this, I thought this is not very feasible, because if you are a knight of Bretonnia and you're sitting on a horse, why would you ever want to carry a sword? And then I thought, well, maybe these are then not for mounted knights that will obviously have lances. These will be for knights on foot, and that is exactly what we are getting here. If you look closely at some of these weapons, they are exactly the same as what we've been shown here. So for example here, this sword for the champion, that's the one that we see over here with the fleur-de-lis symbols. Let's see, it's this sword over here that's with that little shield symbol there. That's the one that's being held here at an angle, very cool pose. Yeah, all in all, this looks like a great unit, very detailed as well, as you'd expect from these newer miniatures. And as is often the case with these sets, you can make them into multiple units, because you can also give them great access. In the Twitch video they said these are pole arms. I'm not sure yet what they are going to be. They look like great access two-handed weapons. I think they might be your two-handed weapons, but they might just as well be counting as pole arms or halberds. So either these knights will be the regular great weapons, and if the rules remain unchanged, that is +2 strength and strike last, or they will have halberds that give them +1 strength. Either way, I think this can be a very good unit, especially if the striking with great weapons on the charge is something that you can do first, as it was in several of the editions. Next we get a close-up here of the Foot Knight command group. You see here the champion, very cool pose, and also the standard bearer. This one makes me really happy because he's got a little shrine there to the Lady of the Lake with the burning candles. Nice detail as well that one of the candles is taller than the other, so the other one has been burning for a bit longer. He's got something that looks like a rosary. It's not a real rosary, of course, but it looks like it. So they've stayed very close to the original Bretonnia theme, with the Lady of the Lake being a sort of Mother Mary figure in Warhammer, and the same kind of Catholic religious symbology that you see returning here. So very cool that they did that, especially for me as a Catholic. That's something that makes me happy. Then we see some old kits returning. We have here the Pegasus Knights. I don't have these myself, I'm not too intimately familiar with them. I started Bretonnia after the old world had already blown up, so that was for me it was for me not feasible to get my hands on these. I have some third-party Pegasus Knights that also I still need to paint, of course. Like so many things, I still need to paint. I think that these Pegasi are separate sprues, and the knights themselves, they look very much like the plastic knights, so that might be that they are in the same plastic knight sprue as we get here for the Knights of the Realm. Knights of the Realm, they are in a lance formation, the old style lance formation, with one at the front, then two, then three, etc. That's also something that I'm really happy to see, because the old lance formation just looked so much better than the 3 wide column, and then, well, it works, but you can't really call it a lance. So I'm really happy that they've gone back to this setup. Now we will see a re-release of these knight boxes, and I think that maybe we shouldn't put too much stock in it that they have a unit of 6 here, but it might just be that that is what is going to be in the new boxes. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the case, but if it is, that would definitely be a downgrade, because the old boxes, I believe, contained 8. Then we get Men-at-Arms, and here we get a block of 18, which might also mean that there are 18, but might also mean that they just smashed 2 boxes together, or that we have 10 in a box, or even 20 in a box. So I believe the old ones had 16, but I'm not sure, because once again, I got these after the old ones had already exploded. Same old plastics, just getting re-released and with new bigger bases, of course. Peasant Bowman, same story, the same old boxes, the same old plastic kits. I'm pretty sure that these at least came in 16 boxes of 16. Here we again see them in a formation of 18 and with the stakes as well. In the older edition you had them 2 ranks deep and then stakes that went across, so that's 8 bases worth of stakes. That was of course on the 20 mil basis, so these are on 25mm basis. Then we get a new model, the Handmaiden of the Lady. This is going to be your wizard, as far as I know, your damsel. So, yeah, basically what in earlier editions was the damsel and is now called a Handmaiden of the Lady. I must say that I'm not overly impressed by this model. This might just be my personal taste, well, this is definitely going to be my personal taste. But this one looks too flashy, in my opinion. I think she would have been much better if she was just standing on the ground, not on those flowers that are sprouting up under her feet. I'm assuming they're sprouting up. It might even be that they were just there and she decided to step on them. Now I have to say, the model itself is not so bad. She looks really good with the staff here, with the fleur-de-lis symbology. Again, this sort of rosary-like chain hanging down. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the pose that I'm not a big fan of. And the reason for that is that they did this same thing with the 7th and 8th edition High Elf mages. It works, I think, for High Elves, but because they did it there, I think they shouldn't have done it here. So that's why I'm not too big of a fan of this model. I think I have plenty of damsels, so that I don't really need this model myself, but if I do get this one, I will definitely take away the flower base and put her on level ground. And those white skirts, I think, will be perfect to do that, to just take away the feet, cut it down here, stand her on the ground, and maybe green stuff it a little bit so that she is level. Then we get a rehash of the reveals we've had so far. The Fey Enchantress, the Battle Standard Bearer on foot, the one that was released in the days leading up to Warhammer Day. A Mounted Battle Standard Bearer that was released or announced a little bit earlier. And of course this Questing Knight Champion, Questing Knight Hero that was released and was announced, I think it was during the previous Warhammer Day, together with that Tomb King character. Another unit that will be returning is the Trebuchet, this time not as a metal but as a Forge World resin kit. What is noticeable here is that they've deployed the Trebuchet crew base to base with the Trebuchet itself. Now this might just be for aesthetic purposes, but it might also mean that there is no longer this sort of skirmish thing going on with war machines, and that your crew have to touch the base of the war machines in the Old World editions. In the Twitch stream, finally, they also mentioned that there will be some metal models, that are coming back, but so far we've not seen anything about that, and they might have just misspoken, or I might have misunderstood that they meant metal models will be coming back as either Forge World or Finecast resin. There will still be more things to be released for Bretonnia. Some things that have been out but we haven't seen yet are the Battle Pilgrims, the ones with the Grail Reliquary. We've also not yet seen the Questing Knights or the Grail Knights. Knights Errant have not been revealed, but of course these were the same kit as the plastic Bretonnia Knights. Might be that this is just going to be the same kit again, and that this will make Knights Errants and Questing and Knights of the Realm. We have not yet gotten any special characters, so I do expect those as well. We've heard of King Luan Orcslayer. We don't yet have a model on a hippogriff. That we might not necessarily get one, because that hippogriff model, the Bretonnia king could ride a hippogriff, the Bretonnia general could ride a hippogriff, but the model itself was a special character. It was King Luan Leoncoeur, so we might not get that model in the old world. And what we also have not yet seen is any mounted damsels. But we should not be surprised by that, because in the Twitch stream they announced that there will be more previews and more releases before the year is done. And when that happens, I will be sure to post another update either here on YouTube or on the podcast itself. Now, if you are not yet familiar with the Forces of Fantasy podcast, you can find the Forces of Fantasy podcast on any podcast hosting platform. And what I do on the podcast is I go through the entire history of Warhammer Fantasy, of all the releases that we've had, starting all the way back in 1st edition with the 1st edition box set. We are now in 2nd edition discussing the books in the 2nd edition box set, and I'm going to then go to the 2nd edition campaign packs, the expansions, the White Dwarf articles released, and then slowly but surely creep away to 3rd edition and onwards. In the meantime, of course, I will also keep you up to date on any old world news and releases, so that will go hand in hand on the podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you like the video. You can also subscribe to the channel, that will really help me out. I would also like to take a moment to thank our patrons. The Forces of Fantasy Patreon is non-tiered. You can join for as little or as much as you like. And on this Patreon page I post new releases, previews and extra bonus content to do with the podcast. I put the links to all the ways that you can contact me and to find out more about the Forces of Fantasy podcast in the description below. Thanks once again for watching, and I will see you next time.